Sonia, you say you are so alone. You raised 3 children yourself while Carl is also in prison. You don't understand why you do it. You say you are suffering because the years are passing without your being able to really live. Please, have patience, have courage. You shall live nonetheless. I look at the epic transformations happening all over the world. It's a peculiar feeling to live in the center of history. Now, Leo was arrested for organizing the May Day demonstration in Berlin. He'll get out of that one. That's what he's most brilliant at. Don't worry. A guard yet he'll convert to the cause. Please send him some wholesome food. He'll ask for cigarettes, but stand firm. Me, Carl, Leo, look at us. But Sonia, you are free. Go out as much as you can. The life is beautiful out there. The sky is so interesting and variegated. It must be lovely seeing the whole horizon. Feast your eyes on it so I can see it through you. Write me a detailed report about every tiny change, about every hue. You ask how I'm able to keep my sanity? Well, I have been busily engaged in feeding wrens and magpies, my sole audience here. I teach them the most revolutionary slogans and ideas and let them fly away again. Last night, I was reading a scientific paper about the migrations of birds. And from this, I learned that small songbirds, such as larks, wrens, nightingales, seem to mingle fearlessly with the great birds of prey, hawks, falcons, eagles, on their great southward flights. These tiny birds have actually been observed being carried under the great wings of the larger birds, their natural enemies. It seems as if a truce of God seems to have been declared for the journey. Isn't that charming? My gracious captors have permitted me to cultivate a tiny plot of earth in front of my cell. For homicidal imperialist worms, they're really quite generous. So, if you would, please send me forget-me-nots, lobelia seeds, and coleus. They don't need much sun, you know. Oh, and thank you for the plant specimen. You know, I thought these were elderberry leaves as well. But they are, in fact, in the myrtle family. See, these leaves are pointed. You see, dark green and shiny in color. I'm so delighted. Myrtle is very rare in this part of Germany. I can't wait to get my hands into the earth. Everyone who writes to me moans and groans. I find nothing more ridiculous than that. My poor heart has become like a well-trained dog. I give it a slap and tell it to lie down. I look at the cool composure with which Goethe managed to stay on top of things. Now there was a real mensch. Keep in mind what he had to go through. The Great French Revolution, which seen up close must have looked like a bloody and utterly pointless farce, when the whole world itself was a wide-open madhouse. And with what calmness he pursued his studies on the metamorphosis of plants, on chromatology, and 1,001 other things. Oh, I'm not saying everyone should write poetry, but surely everyone can adapt Goethe's sense of life, or at least strive to attain it. if you say something like, but Goethe was no political fighter, then I say a political fighter has even more need to try to stay on top of things, or else he will sink right up to his ears in every piddling matter. Of course, I'm referring to a fighter of truly high caliber. We must pass through a time of terrible suffering and violence. But I am absolutely convinced things will take a turn, a right turn when the war ends, or not long after. Why, wonderful events in Russia affect me like a life-giving elixir. We can make this the beginning of a new era for Germany and Poland as well. Imagine, Sonia, our whole society, not merely reformed, but completely overthrown and replaced by a new order. Oh, but how I wish I did not have to admire world history through the bars of my cage. I miss my meetings with Lenin. It was always a pleasure to speak with him. He is sophisticated, knowledgeable, and with the kind of ugly mug I like so much. Oh, Sonia, the world is so beautiful in spite of all the misery. It would be a lot more beautiful if there were no half-wits and cowards in it. So, now, read something inspiring, stay cheerful, and thank you in advance for the seeds. I embrace you. Your Rosa. Dear Leo, by the time you receive this letter, you will have escaped, I trust. I can't wait to hear the story from your own lips. I have been working hard, and I hope you agree with the changes I made in Chapter 8, Democracy and Dictatorship. By the way, smuggling it out of here was a small victory in itself, wouldn't you say? So please see to it that you do not edit it within an inch of its poor little life. Just received a letter from our dear Clara Zetkin. Still mashuggy over the women's issues, always hocking me to write for women's suffrage. But this time I wrote to her, I said, Clara, you know I have been writing and fighting for women since 1902. But these ladies must begin to strive for the end of oppression everywhere, not just merely rights and privileges for themselves. So you take care of the women's movement, darling, and I'll take care of the rest of the world. You know what, Leo? Something in me is very strong, something that I felt lately, but very, very strongly. Something wants to come to the surface, something to write. Don't worry, it's not poetry or fiction. But not my usual articles and speeches either. Our tirades against nationalism, capitalism, thisism, thatism. No, I'm sick of what I'm writing. So there's something more. The fact is, I have not used a tenth, a hundredth of my real strength. So I don't want to write propaganda. I want to act on people like a thunderclap. Like a thunderclap. But how, what, where, I don't know yet. But I tell you, I feel for certain that something is there, something will be born. Now, keep your feet dry, eat more, smoke less. Your Rosa. Now all our letters are purely business, just as you always wanted. Oh, Leo, I wish you were here right now. We wouldn't have to kiss or even speak. I would just want you to hold me. Remember that time in our apartment in Warsaw, and I cried, "Oh, Leo, pick me up in your arms." And you said, "Are you joking, Rosa? You're too heavy. You pick me up." And all those wonderful meals we used to make. You know, for a Litvak revolutionary, you weren't a bad cook. Was it the public recognition I was getting? Is that what turned you away from me? Or was it the fact that I deeply wanted a child with you? Oh, Leo. No couple ever had a task like ours, to shape a human being out of each other. Love strikes once, and it was you, Leo. You never danced with me. You said you didn't believe in dancing. Oh, Leo, you didn't have to believe. All you had to do was dance. Socialism is impossible, even unthinkable, without the most thoroughgoing democracy. You are the decisive element. You are the rock upon which the final decision of the revolution and the victory will be built. Of course, you have a right to remain silent. You have a right to be still as the world moves around you. But some would say you have a responsibility to stand up, a responsibility to open your mouth and speak the truth as you see it. If you will not stand up to fight injustice, if you act as though you are shackled, you might as well be shackled already. Act, move. Those who do not move do not notice their chains. That's good. Now, those of us who choose to stand up will not carry out our struggle according to a plan set out in some book or theory. Our struggle is part of history. Our struggle is part of progress. And in the middle of history, in the middle of progress, in the middle of the fight, we learn how we must fight. Bourgeois class justice is the net through which sharks escape with ease, while it captures in its tiny mesh tiny minnows that venture beyond capitalist law. Millionaire war profiteers go free, while petty thieves are punished with draconian sentences. But the more that social democracy grows, develops, and gets stronger, the more we, the people, will take into our own destiny the leadership of the movement and the determination of its direction into our own hands. Oh, Sonia, you're still feeling embittered by my long imprisonment. You ask, how can human beings dare to decide the fate of others? My dear Sonia, the whole history of human society is based on human beings deciding the fate of their fellows. From time immemorial. Human beings do that. Well, how could I answer that? The practice is deeply rooted in the material conditions of existence. Nothing but a further evolution, and a painful one at that, can change such things. Now, you see, okay, Sonia, now we are at the very hour of the transition. And you still ask me, what is the meaning of it all? Well, being human means throwing yourself on the scales of destiny when needs be. I think about the time my brother and sister came to visit me in the Warsaw Citadel. There they put you in a cage, freely standing inside a larger one. It was the end of a 6-day hunger strike, and I was so weak that the commanding officer had almost to carry me into the visitor's room. I had to hold on to the wires of the cage, surely looking like a wild animal in the zoo. The cage was in a rather dark corner, and my brother put his face up to the wires. Where are you, Rosa? He kept asking, wiping the tears that clouded his glasses. Why are you here? That's how life is. Sorrow and parting, unsatisfied longings. But we have to take everything as it is. That's what I managed to do. Not from any profound wisdom, but it is the only way I feel how I can live. And that is why, Sonia, I am basically truly happy in all circumstances. I would not spare anything out of my life or have it different from what it is. Oh, Sonia, I wish I could bring you to my way of thinking. and the okay, no. Everyone knows that Lenin and the Bolsheviks have contributed greatly to the cause of international socialism under fiendishly difficult conditions. Invaded as they are by 14 imperialist nations, the United States, Japan, France, England, Germany. The problem comes when Lenin starts making a virtue out of these conditions. He is greatly mistaken in the means he employs. He concentrates mostly on controlling the party, not fertilizing it, and narrowing it down, not developing it, and regimenting it, not unifying it. Without general elections, without unrestricted freedom of press and assembly, without a free exchange of opinions, life dies out, and only bureaucracy remains alive. Democracy is ugly and messy and vibrant. But he is creating a dead society of workers, automatons, robotniks. Slowly, public life falls asleep and a few dozen party leaders command and rule. Freedom. Freedom only for the supporters of the government. Only for the members of one party, however numerous it may be, is no freedom at all. Freedom is always and exclusively freedom for the one who thinks differently. Oh, Leo, I am terribly afraid that Lenin is making a mess of this revolution. You must slip me every piece of information possible. What I'm getting is very confusing and fragmented. Is it true that 200 people were mowed down for protesting the Bolsheviks? Terror is the ultimate perversion. No cause justifies taking one human life. What kind of society is he making? A few people at the top telling everyone else what to do? The cure he proposes is worse than the disease. Do I seem naive? Do I seem too naive that they're believing that there could be a system that's deeply humane? Everything I've worked for, everything we've believed in is coming to pass, but not the way I expected it. And now, with the war raging outside these walls, I am powerless to help. So I'm sure the Germans are going to keep me in prison until they have conquered the whole world, until everyone is dead. What is this war about? Capitalism. Or shall I say, barbarism? With capitalism brings war and destruction. So, the real choice facing humanity is between socialism and barbarism. In the long run, a continuation of capitalism will lead to the coming of a new dark age, similar to Europe after the fall of the Roman Empire. Look at Germany, peddling lies to its own people about the reasons for the war, that it had been invaded by Russian troops, that bombs have fallen over Nuremberg by the French, and a host of other Everybody knows that business flourishes in war. Everybody knows that profits spring up like weeds from the fields of the dead. And it is also a basic truth that the same system which causes economic and political injustice will ultimately cause our whole planet to be reduced to a vast cemetery. We were at the pinnacle of an epoch. We thought we had reached the height of civilization, especially Germany, shining like a beacon of hope, imitated everywhere on earth. It's science, economics, music, art, culture. But there was something dreadfully wrong, some discontent. Why, there hadn't been a major war in almost 100 years. They had new weapons, great new technologies that were never tested. Was it boredom? A feeling of superiority over the human race? Or a deeply seated inferiority? And now they see themselves for what they are. Huns, hated by the world as primitive, barbaric savages. Look at me. I sound so pitiful. Feeling sorry for myself. You sound like you. You, Leo, are a revolutionary. A lost man. You have no interests of your own, no feelings of your own, no cause of your own, no belongings, no habits, not even a name. Yeah. Everything to you is absorbed by a single exclusive interest, a single thought, a single passion, the revolution. But if the people who create the revolution are deficient, won't the revolution be deficient? If we are not mensches, if we can't understand the art of living, feeling, touching, loving, how can we make a better world for others? I just have one more question, Leo. What will we do after the revolution? I promise myself to live life to the fullest as soon as I am free. any countries, do you? Or boundaries, no? You just migrate from north to south to north. I'll tell you something. I feel so much more free sitting in this little plot of earth right here than making speeches at party congresses. Now, don't accuse me of being a traitor. You know I hope to die at my post, in a street fight, in the thick of it, or in prison. But my real soul belongs to you, my titmice, more than to my comrades. You see, I must have somebody who will believe me that it is only by mistake that I have been gallivanting about in the whirlpool of history, and that I am in reality born to mind geese, because I think I understand them more than I do men. But there was a time. What a time it was. It was a time when we believed we can change the whole world. Oh, I still believe this, of course, but that was a time. It was a time when we read the most romantic poets, had dreams of workers, peasants, Jews, and because we lived, there would be justice. It was a noble goal. And as for me, in spite of my ancestry, my poverty, my hip, I would find love too. Love and revolution is what we would live and die for. And at night we would read Goethe aloud. As though lashed on by invisible spirits, the horses of the sun god career forward with the frail chariot of their destiny. And nothing remains for us but to hold the reins with calm courage. If I am to fall, then a clap of thunder, a high wind, or even a false move might hurl me into the depths. And there I would lie with many thousands of others. I have never scorned to cast the bloody dice for a few small gains with my good comrades in arms. And should I haggle now when all the beauty and worth of life is at stake? By the time you read this letter, I will be back at work in Berlin, against your advice. Fearing for my safety is so unlike you. Anyway, Sonia is meeting me upon my release today, and she will accompany me to Berlin, where I'll go underground. You will have no trouble finding me or Leo, or Carol for that matter. Did you arrange for the printing press? I have decided to continue my work for the pamphlet on the Russian Revolution. They can call me a traitor to the cause, they can call me a counter-revolutionary, but I must tell the truth, it's rotten. It may take a decade, a generation, or a century, but their kind of communism will ultimately fail. Of that I am sure. here with a lump in my throat. Okay. The people with whom we worked in the party now want to see me dead. But 100,000 marks on my head? But they were the ones who veered off, not us. The fact remains, the socialists, our allies, voted for the war. Leo, did you know that there are two kinds of living organisms? Those with a backbone and therefore walk, at times even run. And the others, invertebrate, who either creep or cling. This is not how I planned it. This is not how I thought it would be, but we must go on. Order reigns in Berlin. You stupid lackeys. Your order is built on sand. Tomorrow the revolution will rear its head up, and to your horror will proclaim, I was, I am, I will be. We were close, weren't we? I mean, we were close to it, weren't we, Leo? Really close. But we are not lost. Indeed, we are like the Jews whom Moses is leading through the desert. I will see you in Berlin, my darling. Your Rosa. Oh, thank you for the beet borscht. It soothed my stomach as usual. Dear Mama, last night I dreamt of you. I woke up and in a half dream I heard myself calling out to you. Calling out, Mama. Calling out to you, but it was 7 years too late. I never got a chance to say I was sorry for not coming home when you were sick. I guess I slipped away from you while I was trying to change the world. You never knew what I was fighting for, did you, Mama? I thought you would never understand. I blamed you for my hip. I blamed you for our poverty. I blamed you for everything that was wrong with me and everything that was wrong with the world. I never trusted you when you tried to comfort me. I guess I never respected you. I always thought for a woman to be strong, she had to be blatantly bold. But now I see that you were strong, Mama. You were strong. You and Papa were so Jewish, so backward. I was embarrassed of you. I was ashamed. Not much embarrasses me anymore. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror the other day, tiny piece of mirror I have. I'm growing old exactly the way you grew old, Mama. Do you remember that time when we were walking through the park and you said that you, like King Solomon, can understand the language of birds? And I remember smirking and thinking how silly you were, how simple you were, how naive you were. But now I've grown like you too, Mama. I too can understand the language of birds. You hear that? That's like warble. That's the coming of spring. Despite snow and frost and loneliness, we, the titmice and I, believe in the coming of spring, Mama. Did you know that the coming spring, when the awakening of new life actually begins in early January, even though everything is wrapped in the snows of winter? We shall get out of this one, despite everything.